Tell us about this massive scandal that you recently uncovered.
So many scandals. I actually have lost count.
In this case, I would actually say that we should be thinking about bringing back the death penalty.
I 100% agree with you.
Why do you think migration remains one of the biggest issues in Britain?
People in this country are feeling so much poorer than they were 10 years ago. They want illegal migration to stop immediately. They want deportations of illegal migrants to happen immediately.
What is the worst scandal nobody in Britain is talking about?
I mean, I think...
Hello, welcome to a very special Daily Expresso. I'm JJ and this is GB News presenter Alex Armstrong. Good morning, sir.
It is the morning, isn't it?
It is. It's still. I'm tired, but not as tired as you.
No, I don't know what day of the week it is anymore, JJ. Yeah. That's the problem. My schedule's all over the place.
Alex goes from working Sunday night at GB News to then doing breakfast at GB News.
Yeah, Monday morning.
You're getting like 2 hours sleep.
Something like that, yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's like I'm up at 4 a.m. So we finish at 11, you have a little debrief, and you go home, get some sleep, get a taxi straight back in, up at 4, in the studio for at least 5 o'clock, and then on air at 6.
Wow.
It's pretty intense.
Hardest working man in showbiz, mate. But speaking of insane, tell us about this massive scandal that you recently uncovered.
Right, so obviously everyone talks about vape shops. We talk about barber shops. They're prolific on everyone's high street, I think, now.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a single part of the country, maybe some sleepy town somewhere that don't have them.
Yeah.
And we were like, well, there's also quite a lot of kebab shops around. What's going on with that? So just started doing some digging. And this all, of course, just a bit of context, it all comes from skilled sponsored visas, right? So this is companies that have registered to be able to bring people to the UK for skilled work, right? And, you know, good idea. We want migrants to come who are highly skilled to the country, to grow our economy, help our our country thrive. But it kind of struck us that you might not need a highly skilled person from abroad to come and work in a kebab shop, particularly if they're earning £41,000 a year. You start to look at the maths. And there's one little place in East Ham in East London, and it hired 7 people on a sponsored skilled worker visa. And, you know, maybe one you might be able to get away with, kind of. I don't think you can, but you might be able to justify if you're a highly successful kebab shop. But this one just was not like that at all. And we thought, let's go and say hello. Let's just go pop in. They've not done anything wrong, by the way, these workers, right? They've come over legally. They followed the visa route. And so we didn't want to go and harass them because they're just following the rules that we set out, that our government successively have set out for them. So we went over there with a camera and just decided to ask them what skills you need to work in a kebab shop and whether or not anyone in Britain could do it. One of the guys' reactions was, which I think says it all. But it is a scandal. Over 150 of these companies in the UK can sponsor visas. And it begs the question. I know the Daily Express have done incredible work on this.
Thank you.
Really incredible work on going to vape shops, going to barber shops. How on earth are you all open? You know, how is there so many of you when the mathematics, the economics doesn't work? Yeah. And it's the same on this one road. There was 5 kebab shops, two of them next door to each other, both basically named the same thing. And we were just like, it's not working out. And we all know really what's going on is abuse of the visa system, right? It is a backdoor route into Britain. It's not illegal. It's perfectly legal, but it shouldn't be because we all know it's being abused. We know these guys aren't only 41 grand a year. And I think we're just trying to put a spotlight on that because the government keeps saying they're cracking down. But every week, more and more people are seeing kebab shops, vape shops and barber shops open up. So what are they actually doing about it?
But as you say, this is successive governments. This was the Tories before, it's Labour now. Why is the Home Office allowing this to happen? Listen, I don't think our civil servants are thick. I don't think they're idiots. No. But why they must know this is going on.
Yeah, well, I think I'll give some credit, and I know people won't like me saying this, some credit to Shabana Mahmood because she's been the toughest sounding. At least rhetoric has been stronger. She has stopped these crazy visas. Okay, a lot of them. She has cracked down on a lot of them. Unlike the last Conservative government, who Boris Johnson opened the door up to these visas. This is his legacy. But I think there's possibly 2 reasons. One, there's not enough trading standards officials. The ones that do go out get abused. They have to go with police. I think there was a report that said 9 out of 10 of them that go out and go and investigate these shops ends up in some sort of violence. They need a police officer because they're harassed out. So you need a force dedicated to going around and checking these places. We don't have enough police as it is to patrol the streets. The second thing is if you start closing them all down, the high streets are gone. Right? Yeah. Right? No one's got any money. So actually, are you damaging the local economy in some way? Is it better to have I think they all think about this. Is it better to have an illegal trade than no trade at all? and I know that sounds crazy, but I suspect they must ask these questions. The other of course problem is this is a legal route in, not an illegal route in, and they must be worried if we shut these routes down, do we just incentivize more illegal migration, which is the number one thing they're trying to tackle?
Yeah, why do you think migration remains one of the biggest issues in Britain?
There's a plethora of reasons. I think it first of all starts off with the fact that people in this country are feeling so much poorer than they were 10 years ago. If you look at GDP per capita, basically no one's made any more money in the last 10 years. And if you're concerned about that in any way, shape or form, that you're not making more money, and then you see people coming over to the UK taking up jobs when the jobs market is shrinking, unemployment's going up, you start to ask questions. Well, why are these jobs not being prioritised for British people? Right?
But do you think British people are going to want to work in a kebab shop?
No, but I don't think the kebab shop would exist, right? I think that's the point, right? It's not that British people want to work in the kebab shop. It's just that these kebab shops shouldn't exist. They are being propped up what I think is an illegal trade. I think they're black market. There's no way they're paying, 100 and something grand a year for 7 employees.
Yeah.
A bit more than that even. It just, the mathematics doesn't make sense, right? By any stretch of the imagination when you're selling kebab for £4, right? It was empty.
£4? Where are you going?
Yeah, well, this is London, mate. This is London, right? Let's get real.
That's cheap. For me, my kebab shop's about £10 for a small kebab.
Well, I guess if you've got 5 on your one road, you need to compete. You need to compete a little bit. But yeah, so these shops shouldn't exist, right? We all know there's an illegal trade going on. I think the government even acknowledged that. And I think that when you see that could have been a shop, and then that pushes the rents up for those shops. Then you can't. If you are just a local business who wants to open a shop, you're pushed out the market. And so all these things are contributing. People are also seeing cultural tensions running high, entire places not looking like Britain anymore to them, and they are concerned about that. Culturally, I think that's a big problem for the country, as we're seeing that multiculturalism is starting to fracture where there is only one monoculture in certain locations that is not homogenous with the rest of our culture, and people have a right to be concerned about that, I think.
And again, look, I'll caveat this by saying I don't think British people, I don't think we're lazy.
No.
But I do think we don't want to do the menial jobs. We don't want to be picking fruit. We don't want to be doing the back-breaking work, which a lot of people come in from overseas and doing those jobs for us.
And there's certainly good jobs that people overseas will do that we won't do.
Yeah.
I think care workers is a really good example of that, right?
Yeah.
And I think we've just got to be honest about that. I also think that if you do flood the country, and I think this is a problem where we've got to look at how we regulate these things, but when you flood the country with cheap care workers and cheap doctors, like British people want British doctors. We train so many doctors that they have to go abroad because we won't pay them the right money.
Yeah.
So the question for the government and for the British public is, do you mind paying a little bit more for a British doctor, or would you rather have a doctor from abroad and save a couple of quid in your taxes? That is a conversation we should have, because I'd rather pay a little bit more to the NHS so they can hire a British doctor. Right? These are conversations we don't have, and it bugs me. Because it's just, the answer is British people don't want to talk about this when we actually do.
Yeah. What about the Brits who are so angry they're rioting in the streets and they're burning cars and they're throwing rocks in windows? A lot of them, I'm told, statistically from areas where there's a lot of high unemployment, but they're still raging and saying, you people are taking out jobs, but you're not working yourselves. Like McDonald's is always hiring, let me tell you. You know what I mean? But they're choosing to not do those jobs.
Yeah, you're touching on a point which is probably multifaceted, right? There is an unemployment crisis which is getting worse. The economy isn't getting better. Jobs are going. AI's coming as well. That's going to suck up even more of those lower end jobs. Let's be real. And what happens when people are unemployed? They start paying attention to politics. It's a big problem for the government. They don't want to be talking about immigration and illegal immigration, people living next door to you. Then you start looking at crime in your area, and it gets people angry. I'd say, listen, first of all, when I made this very clear, there is no need for any violence. You never win with violence. And if you do, it's a bad win, in my opinion. I think you're winning on false pretenses, and all you do is set a precedent. There's some people on my end of the spectrum, on the right wing of the spectrum, who think that violence is justified to get to your end cause.
Yeah.
But I'll say to you, are you supportive of the Palestine Action people who went and attacked a warehouse?
Yeah.
Right? I'm not going to be a hypocrite. We've seen how that goes for this government when it comes to two-tier policies, two-tier politics. You can't condemn violence on one side and not the other. Violence is not the solution. Everyone needs to get out a bit more and protest peacefully. The farmers' protest I thought was fantastic earlier in the year, and I think that really sent the shivers up the spine of the government. And show there's a force. Show there's a force of people. If you want to have an anti-mass migration protest or a jobs protest, you can get millions of people out to do it. Then start organising.
Right, a quick pause in the podcast to tell you about our sponsor, Incogni. You had those phone calls from numbers you don't recognise, or you go in your inbox and there's emails for stuff you did not sign up for. Well, that's because someone somewhere is selling your private information. That's where today's sponsor comes in. Incogni. They will contact these people who have been taking your information, and they'll say, oi, stop, delete it. Go to the website, incogni.com, you type in the details, 2 minutes later, Incogni are sorting it out for you automatically. And because I love you, I've got you a discount. It ain't 10%, it ain't 20, 60% off. 60% off an annual Incogni plan. Just go to incogni.com/daily expresso or click the link in the episode description box below. So you mentioned two-tier policing, two-tier justice then. You think that that's a real thing, a real problem at the moment?
I think it's a real thing. I said this to a government minister this morning, actually, on GB News. But
stop plugging GB News on this show.
Yeah. Well, they probably already watch it anyway. Let's get real. It's the Daily Expresso, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where am I? Right. But you know, Keir Starmer came out today and it's basically told us there's no such thing as two-tier, and it undermines the police. But I think that is an attempt at gaslighting people. It is in black and white in the NPCC guidance under racial equality. It says you must treat people differently based on their skin colour, right? That's not equality, in my opinion. That is creating division. And it does lead to things like the Pakistani rape gangs, right? We've seen that time and time again, right? We've proven it. The independent inquiry details from Rupert Lowe that came out last night, shocking. Shocking. And I think you're going to see more of that with the national inquiry. So there is definitely two-tier policing in Britain. It's written in ink, and we have a right to be worried about it. I think British people are not unreasonable. They don't want to say you should discriminate. Can you imagine if there's something that said we should discriminate against black people, we should discriminate against brown people? We should not discriminate. We should treat everyone fairly under the law.
But aside from what's written in black and white, the statistics would suggest for the last 30 years that black people have been treated less favourably by the police.
I would agree with
that. So there would be two-tier policing back then.
Yes.
I'm not sure the pendulum has swung so far left now that black people and brown people are being treated better than white people now.
It's a good question. I don't really know all the statistics, if I'm being honest with you. And there are some cases where you do need to be. What we know, for example, black people commit more knife crime, right? We do need to be more careful about how we talk about equality. There needs to be targeted action at specific groups. Simple as that, in my opinion. I don't think it's racist to say that. I think we just got to look at the data and behave appropriately. But I think when it comes to cases of police arriving at situations, Henry Novak's one is particularly stands out. When you talk about baby Preston in the case the other day, is there cases of homophobia there, right? It's were people scared to call that out because of homophobia. You talk about Sarah Sharif, you talk about the grooming gangs. There are examples of that everywhere. And what we should never do is try to solve one problem of racism with a new form of it. We just have to say, what is the balance we need to find here? And be very careful about how they phrase that and how they train it. I mean, I spoke to a police officer who quit the force because he was worried he wouldn't be able to do his job properly over all this training. Police will put you through the training again if they don't feel you're going to comply with it. And I feel like that's taking away from actually go to a crime, solve a crime, treat everyone as a criminal when you get there, make sure that everyone's safe and protect the citizens.
Well, if you're enjoying this show so far, please like, share and subscribe. And subscribe is important because like so many of you are watching every episode but not yet subscribing, so hit the subscribe button. Now, I want to go back to what you said just Alex, about baby Preston. Horrendous case, absolutely horrendous. And I don't think that these two monstrous men were ignored because they were gay. I think it's because one of them was a teacher and one of them was some kind of financial advisor or something like that, or financial sales advisor. I think they came across as respectable people, and I think it was only the doctors. They had excuses every time. Oh, the kid fell over. He had a bruise in his head. I think it was more that than people being scared of being called homophobic.
Yeah, and you might be right. There's an inquiry that's going to go underway. All I can say is it feels like there are very similar vibes to the Sarah Sharif situation, right, to me.
Okay.
And I don't want to call DEI every time something goes wrong in the country, right? But I think it's reasonable for people to now make the assumption, based on historical precedent, that this might be a DEI problem. And we should look and see whether social workers might turn around and say, well, I was afraid to say something because I might be called homophobic because it's two men, right? I don't think we should be afraid of asking those questions. I think that's gone really badly for the country before. And I think plenty of gay people will turn around and go, yeah, when you read that, I actually didn't finish reading what these two had done.
It turns my stomach.
Yeah, it made me feel sick.
Yeah.
I was really upset and really sick. And so I started reading some of it in the Mail, and I just thought, okay, I'm not reading anymore. It was making me feel ill. But I think we should at least explore the whether it is homophobia, fear of homophobia, rather than just pretend it doesn't exist.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. What do you think should be these guys are getting sentenced on Thursday, so tomorrow. Is today Wednesday? Yes. Yeah. Tomorrow these guys are getting sentenced. I've said, and I always say the same thing when it comes to rapists, paedophiles, chemical castration is the only way to go. In this case, I would actually say that we should be thinking about bringing back the death penalty.
I 100% agree with you. There are some crimes that are so sick. How can you ever trust that person back in society again? Right? Because they will get out eventually.
Yeah.
Do you think those people are net positive to this planet in any way, shape, or form? I think that the sickness there is so severe that I don't think people want to pay taxes towards them being alive. But I'd actually give that choice, where applicable, to the victim's family. Right? I would let them make that decision. It is they're the ones who are suffering. Take the case of Henry Novak. I'm not saying we should apply this rule to everyone, by the way, but I think the victims should have a bigger say in the justice system in many respects.
Yeah.
Some might show compassion. Some might say, actually, for me to be able to live with this, I need this to be the outcome of this case or whatever it is. And I don't think we care enough about victims in this country. This is the law is read like this, which of course works in 99% of the cases. This one, death penalty.
Let's talk about Starmer and Labour. You think he's going to survive?
Does anyone? But you know what, right?
I think he's going to survive.
You know, he is.
I think he's going to.
I'm going to be really horrible about it, but I don't mean this in a derogatory way, but he's a political cockroach. You know, nuclear bomb could go off.
I don't mean this in a derogatory way, but he's a political cockroach.
Well, you know, cockroaches could survive a nuclear holocaust, and I think that's what Keir Starmer's like the political equivalent of it. You thought Boris Johnson was bad, you thought Liz Truss was bad. They were out. I mean, the Tories were ruthless.
Yeah.
This bloke's hung on through so many scandals. I actually have lost count. I have genuinely lost count. Things that would have taken prime ministers down, he survived through it. Look, we're talking about this before a by-election, right? We know British politics is really, really, it's difficult to call it.
Yeah.
With Brexit, I don't think anyone, I woke up in the morning, I was like, oh my goodness, it actually happened. So I don't think we should ever rule out Burnham not winning and Starmer staying on. But also, I think Keir Starmer will fight it. I don't think he wants to lose the job.
Yeah.
But if I put money on the table, he's gone.
I think he's going to survive because I do think in the by-election, I think Burnham's going to lose to Reform.
Do you really?
I do.
I don't think that's going to happen.
No?
No.
Your viewers aren't going to be very happy with that, mate.
I'm very honest, I'm controversial at the worst of times, but at the best of times as well. I think Andy Burnham's got it in the bag.
So what happens if Andy Burnham wins and becomes PM? What happens to this country then?
I don't really know enough about Andy Burnham. He keeps on U-turning. He's done more U-turns than Keir Starmer has in the space of 1 month. So I think who is the man? Who is the politician behind this man? Is he just blowing with the wind? And if that's how he's gonna govern, it's gonna go the same way it went for Keir Starmer.
From what I know of Burnham, he is Starmer in a better fitted suit, with a bit more rock and roll about him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But he's a good communicator, which Starmer certainly is not. However, I think he's going to bring in policies that are so left-leaning, the country's going to be even more screwed than we are now.
If that's the case, you're going to get a Liz Truss moment, right? You'll get the markets just completely flatlining, and that kills governments, as we've seen time and time
Yeah.
again. But
And then what happens? Then what do you do?
well, you have to call a general election. You haven't got a choice. I mean, you can go through. What you'll probably end up with is an Angela Rayner.
Yeah.
They'll just go down the Tory route, because if Andy Burnham fails, one or two things are going to happen. Either Andy Burnham is a success and they call a general election next year. I have odds on that one. I think we're in for an early general election.
Okay.
And if he doesn't, they just rattle through prime ministers until they drag themselves out like the Tories did, and it's game over. And the Green Party will do very well off the back of that. I'll tell you that for sure.
Good Lord.
I know.
Green Party.
I know. Save us. Get your plane tickets ready. Sell your houses now before they're nationalised.
What do you think the public want to hear from Starmer about migration?
I don't think they want to hear anything from Keir Starmer anymore. I'm being deadly serious, JJ. Nobody believes a word he says, right?
What if Starmer comes out tomorrow and says, I'm giving Shabana Mahmood all the powers in the world, we're putting the Navy in the English Channel, we're going to turn those boats around? I think the English people would be like, yeah, okay, yeah.
All right, well, if we're talking about an alternative universe, JJ, where Keir Starmer is Nigel Farage, right? Yeah. I think all of a sudden people might perk up a little bit. Is that going to happen? No, he would rather lose an election than say things like that. So yeah, it's just not going to happen, mate, unfortunately. But yeah, in an ideal world, people would have the Royal Navy out turning the boats around in the Channel and deporting everyone that came here illegally. That's what they would do.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Farage and reform,
Yeah.
what is it about them you think that is getting their message to cut through and landing with voters?
It's a really good question, right?
Thank you. I'm full of them.
You are, yeah. Have you got a podcast by any chance? Look, I think people just want something solved. And I think what it is where Nigel Farage has broken through, and you can say there's other right-wing Restore Britain starting to slowly creep up there, isn't it? On the outside lane as well, on 8% or so, whatever this by-election turns out to be for them. But you can see the message is clear on the right, can't you? From Kemi Basenock's new Tory party to Nigel Farage and Rupert Lowe. The right is aligned on the most critical issues for the right. And I think that in turn is the vast majority of the country, which is they want illegal migration to stop immediately. They want deportations of illegal migrants to happen immediately. And the economy is broken. I think those are the three things that people are concerned about if you were to boil it down.
Yeah.
And you can only do that by reversing like very left-wing Tory ideology in the economics in the last 10 years, and by reversing and getting on with deportations and having tough borders.
You think Reform have got enough depth in their policies to govern?
Not yet. Not yet. I think they need to publish a manifesto. I wouldn't want to do that too early if I were them. You know, because this country is changing rapidly. I think you can probably get a manifesto pledge out on some of the key issues like immigration, because there's certain things you have to change, like the ECHR. But on the economy, I'd hold fire. I mean, there's so much shifting on that.
Yeah.
Making pledges now is stupid. Telling people you're going to cut their petrol prices down, stupid.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I wouldn't be doing that right now if I was Reform UK, because who knows what the petrol prices will be in 2 years, a year. Who knows? So I think some things have to wait, but I think big issues you should talk about how you tackle them.
I did read their take on NHS and healthcare, because I used to work with David Bull.
Yeah.
And obviously he was
Great guy.
Good guy, a doctor as well.
Yeah.
And actually, from reading that, I agreed with a lot of things that he was saying that they wanted to do, like charging nurses less tax, like scrapping hospital car park fees, all these just basic common sense ideas. I thought I could get behind that, actually.
Yeah. I think sensible policies. Like, we need to incentivise so much across the whole country, really. I think we just haven't changed. Tax is so complicated and flat. And actually tax, if you look at Hungary, they take off your tax bill how many children you have, because they've got a population problem. Why aren't we doing things like that? You know, go to university, we'll take things off your tax if you start working here or have kids there. We'll cut your university fees down. Same for nurses and doctors, right? We should stop spending money on rubbish like carbon capture plants, which are costing us 20 billion. Right? Put it towards some tax relief. I know it won't be a lot, 20 billion, but it will help people. Will help. And anything we can do to get this country moving is a good thing.
There does seem to be a civil war in Reform, I think. I think there's people who like Zia Youssef, and then the other side, people who can't stand the guy. Right? What have you heard?
Just Zia Youssef, is that it? Is that the only civil war? It's a one-man civil war, is it?
I think so. What have you heard? You've spoken to plenty of Reform MPs and all 6 of them and their supporters.
I don't think it's a Zia Youssef problem.
No,
I think it's a a Tory versus Reformer problem, which I think will play itself out because inevitably there is a situation where you brought a lot of ex-Conservatives, politically speaking, who are former politicians into the party. There's a lot of people in the country who aren't happy with that. That's where Restore Britain has existed. That's that bucket there. And then you've got people within the party who, like Nigel Farage, believe he's the right man to lead the country. And they're the reformers, the ones who joined the UKIP people. And then you've got those Tory politicians coming in, which has obviously I don't think it's worked out very well for them.
No,
I really don't. I think if they could turn the clock back, they wouldn't have done it.
Really?
Yeah.
Robert Jenrick, Suella Braverman, you think they'd be saying no to them?
I have a feeling if they could turn the clock back, they wouldn't do it. Yeah, I think they're great, by the way. I think they're really good politicians, and I've got a lot of respect for them. I'm not saying I would do this. I think they're great assets to Reform UK, if you ask me, if that's the kind of voter you want to attract. But if you want to settle down that old reformer base, that's where the tension is.
Yeah,
people who feel like they've been thrown in the mix there. But as Nigel Farage has said time and time again, the biggest criticism they get is that you're not ready to govern. You need some ex-cabinet ministers to help you govern that are sitting in the green benches.
Yeah.
So it's a tough position for a new party like that.
Are you looking for ways to protect your wealth in these uncertain times? Well, might I suggest you check out the Pure Gold Company. The Pure Gold Company was voted the UK's best gold broker. They are leading specialists in physical gold and silver. So whether you're planning for the future, diversifying your portfolio, or simply want the security of owning real precious metals, their expert team can help guide you every step of the way. Gold coins minted by the Royal Mint are free of VAT and capital gains tax in the UK, and you can see it, touch it, hold it, store it under your bed if you want to. Visit the Pure Gold Company today and tell them JJ sent you. Well, why do you think Restore are doing so well? And do you think they actually have a chance of winning anything?
They're not going to win a general election. No way. No.
But they're going to do
unheard of.
They're going to do. I know our viewers don't like it when I say this, but they're going to do damage to Reform.
Yes, of course they will.
They're going to take votes away from them.
We've got to just be real. We can't, whether you like to hear it or not, that is the reality. You're going to see that in the by-election in Makerfield. Was it tomorrow? In the next couple of days or so?
2 days. Yeah,
2 days time. You will see the results of that, I think. Maybe I'll be wrong, and I'll come back here and I'll go, "Wow, what an idiot! Your audience is right."
You're not coming back here, mate. No. Don't worry about
that. You said last time, didn't you? But yeah, look, the biggest threat we've got right now is that the right is split 3 ways. That's not happened before for a very, very long time, if ever. That's very dangerous. We only win when the right is united, and so there's going to have to be a reckoning of the right. Otherwise, you will end up with an Andy Burnham, Ed Davey coalition government in the next year. Yeah. And I'm telling you, that is what they will do. Andy Burnham would rather have 4 years, take us into 2030, let Reform, Restore, and the Tories destroy themselves in the next 4 years, which is exactly what will happen.
I know X isn't the place to judge the world from, but I do go on there from time to time.
Yeah.
It does feel like Restore and Reform supporters really hate each other.
They do.
Yeah,
which is a problem, right?
Yeah.
And I'd ask them, what intrinsically are you arguing about? What is it that what policies, what politics do you disagree on? Right? What politics? And I know Restore will go further on the deportation stuff. I know that's where a lot of people feel the country needs to be. But politics is progressive, right? It grows and things change. So if you want to change something, creating new parties to stop one party that's actually probably got 99% of what you want there is not in your favour, because you're just going to get a more left-wing government next time. Yeah. So I would say to those people, you're all fighting amongst yourselves while the rest are laughing at you.
Yeah.
The left are laughing at you.
Let's talk about Owen Jones, one of your favourite people.
Who's that? Never heard of him.
Well, you got into a spat with him.
I did, yeah.
Just tell me what happened there. Right, how did it begin?
Yeah, it started with a tweet that I put out. And I'll clarify this. I don't think I've done this actually on air. I did do this on air, actually. Yeah, I did. But I'll do it here for your audience too. I put out a tweet that said something like, "Deport them all." I think in some sort of quotes like that. Right? This was on the back of what was going on in Northern Ireland. So it was in the same context as this guy who was seemingly beheading, sort of trying to behead somebody. Deport them all is what I said. That caused, by the next morning I woke up, it was just like, from every angle, a billion things were going on. Right? I was on holiday, I didn't have the time to respond to this, so I was like, this is just too much. I was getting people from extremes on both ends, and every end of the spectrum you could possibly imagine.
Really?
It's like, everyone that's ever watched me or read any of my tweets, first of all, knows when I was talking about deport them all, I meant illegal migrants, right? It was very clear to me when I was writing it. It didn't even cross my mind that I just want to deport everyone that isn't white, right? The second thing is, my stepfather is an immigrant, right? My little brother's a mixed race, right? So, so anyone who believes that I want to deport my own family is unfortunately a moron.
Correct.
Right. Get rid of them all. I have a spare bedroom when I come home that way, and maybe a bit more dinner at a table. But I mean, so I deleted it. I was like, this is taking well out of context from what I was trying to say. There's no, and also I thought to myself, I'll just put a clarification out. But then what's the point? Because I will just come under attack from those same groups again for putting a clarification out.
Yeah.
Right? Someone will say I'm backtracking. Someone will say, oh, you've pussied out of it.
Yeah.
Right? Which wasn't the point. I just didn't. I should have been more clear about what I meant. I just, didn't think it was going to get such a massive response from people, but it did.
Yeah.
And Owen Jones, Bushra, some of the others, the familiar people, they dived on it, calling me racist, extremist, and all these things. And I don't think my positions are very extreme on most things. Actually, I think I'm probably with at least the right of British politics. I'm very much on that side.
Well, you and I used to go on TV together all the time.
Yeah.
As supposed to be opponents, and we'd end up agreeing on many topics.
I think they said we had a bromance at one point.
Yeah.
People were saying it's like I think there's not a single left-wing person at GB News who will hopefully, if you interview them yourself, I'm sure at some point, even include people like Jonathan Liss who politically diametrically opposed, would say, "Oh, Alex Armstrong is an extremist." I mean, please feel free to ask them. And so I responded to Bushra with what I just told you about my family. It did shut her down. She kind of didn't know what to say afterwards because, it's a flawed argument. And then Owen Jones continued on. We were talking about Palestine action, the warehouse lot getting locked up. Thank God for that. They needed to be locked up for what they did, sledgehammering someone over the back, driving a van into a building.
Yeah.
I mean, where do I stop there? Open support for a terrorist group.
Yeah.
Need I go on? Him, Jeremy Corbyn, Zach Polanski, these are people on the left, right? They're willing to come after me. I said, well, let's put their views to the test. And unlike Owen Jones, who blocked me, by the way, so I couldn't even respond to him. So much for being a journalist who didn't even research my background, which is all publicly available, as you know, about my family and everything. Didn't do 2 seconds of research. Great journalism there. By the way, good job, Owen. You're really, really... Call me low IQ, and I just felt like saying... You didn't even do the basic minimum journalism before you started attacking me, mate, calling me an extremist. Congratulations to you. You just made this very easy. And we invited him to come on the show. We said to him, can you clarify what you mean by this? You didn't want to condemn what these guys did, and I think they're violent thugs. I said the same thing when the Belfast thing happened. I'm not a hypocrite. Owen Jones was out the week before slamming people in Belfast, calling them racist, but he won't do that when it's Palestine action people. And that was the problem I had. So I wanted to point out the hypocrisy, because I do that quite often, even on the right, like I did with Belfast. You've got to do that if you really want to be taken seriously.
Yeah. And
he didn't like it. Got really upset, started screenshotting my producer's messages, putting them up, calling me names. And I think if you look at the tweets, I think I won. he said to me, what loser's going to go on Alex Armstrong's show at 11 o'clock at night? And I said, one, Owen Jones, you're already a loser. So you might as well come on anyway. So there we go. I just every now and then it's worth a pop back. But then I got something like 40,000 people followed me. So thanks, Owen. Yeah. I don't see how he's won in this in any way, shape, or form. So I'm like, please come at me again. We'll have a round 2. But Owen Jones, if you're watching, you never know. You seem to watch me or have quite a lot of opinions about someone you've never met before. Come on, I'll chat to you here on the Daily Expresso. We'll have it out here if you like. Any venue, any place, any time. Let's do it.
My next question was going to be, do you think politics has become too tribal in this country?
Really? Do you think so? Yeah, of course it has. Of course it has. Yeah, of course it has.
How do you separate, or do you even separate, your personal views from you as a presenter?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's maybe less about separating my views as to how you frame something. There's certain shows I'll do where it's less of my opinion, more framing the question.
Okay.
Right, to get an answer rather than me constantly. My weekend shows on Saturdays and Sundays, it's my opinion most of the time, 90% of the time. But sometimes you have to pose a different argument. Someone on the right that I might agree with, I have to try and get a response out of them that you will find interesting.
Yeah.
Right, and that sometimes means being a devil's advocate. So you definitely do have to switch tones being a presenter. Yeah.
Okay, but again, just on the presenting, your critics would say that GB News fuels division, that you're there reporting about things that some of the mainstream media aren't reporting on. Where do you think the truth lies with that?
Well, I'll just say to them, watch GB News, right? That I will watch Channel 4 News or maybe Good Morning Britain or BBC News.
Or the Daily Expresso.
Or the Daily Expresso,
guy.
right?
Jeez.
Or the Daily Expresso. I'm only talking about the old establishment media. You're not one of them, right?
Thank you.
You're not establishment media. I'm talking about those lot, right? I'll watch those lot, and the way they frame things, the way they talk about things, the bias inside the reporting makes me a little bit angry, a little bit like, oh, why have you done that?
Yeah.
Yesterday we saw a channel put on a grooming gang survivor, and they had told her not to talk about race, for example, right? About the ethnicity of the people that had groomed her, and so I would take issue with that. You're going to come onto GB News and take issue with certain things. The difference is, as you know, JJ, there's always a left-wing voice.
Yeah.
There's always an opposing voice. You don't see that on Sky. You don't see that on the BBC. You don't see that in Channel 4. And I think that's what a massive credit to GB News, because I don't want to hear an echo chamber. I want to hear alternative opinions, because you might have your mind changed.
Okay. What do you think is the worst scandal in Britain that the media, mainstream media, aren't covering?
I mean, oh God, where do you start? The worst scandal they aren't covering. I mean, I think we touched on something really interesting on the weekend. I don't know whether this is a scandal or whether it's establishment media afraid to challenge government. We were talking about this very secretive unit, this spy unit inside the government. It's the RICU. And there's a lot of allegations out at them that they plant media narratives. One of famous examples, 2014, where they enlist this media organisation. I've got to be careful what I say so I don't get sued by this media organisation here. But this media organisation basically took pictures of a woman in a Union Jack hijab, which made its way to the front page of a national newspaper, or two national newspapers, should I say. And it was planted, allegedly, by this secret unit in order to promote a narrative that they wanted, which was to create calm around fear of Muslims in the country. You might argue, many people watching might argue, what's wrong with that? I just feel the media should do that job itself without pressure from any secret government. They even allegedly manage victim statements for people who had crimes committed, like Axel Rueda-Cabana, like the Henry Novak case. I'm not saying these are examples. Hypothetically speaking, they might be, where they basically make sure there's no tensions in there that might arise. I just feel where if there is a government unit that does this, that people should. It's an attempt on attacking the free press. It's an attempt on attacking democracy. It's trying to control your consciousness, and I don't like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alex, it's been a pleasure having you on, mate.
Thanks, JJ.
Because you've been plugging the F out of GB News, I'm going to ask you to read this second yellow line. Read that down the camera if you can, Mr. Professional Presenter.
Yeah, this one here, yeah?
Yeah, that one.
Why aren't you subscribed already? You're watching and you haven't subscribed. Hit the like button now, subscribe, and then they might invite me back.
Alex Armstrong, thank you so much, mate.
Pleasure, JJ. Thank you very much.
As he said, subscribe, comment, and also hit the hype button. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.